Check my pronunciation. Mei yu gong, tiang xia da tong. It means, please don't laugh. That means with inclusion, the world becomes better and prettier. We all agree with that. Yeah, inclusion. So, and then again, I mean, what a place to talk about inclusion. China is incredible. Yeah, we all heard the plenary session about Chinese modernization was something. All of these high-level people talking about data and evidence, I was blown away. Congratulations to China and all of the large-scale transitions and transformations. And in China, evaluation played a key role. So this is the great place to be and talk about the future and inclusion and responsive evaluation. So today, in all this doing, we have 5 incredible, honorable speakers from Morocco, South Africa, Uganda, Mongolia, and China. That's very diverse. Yeah, so inclusion is everywhere. They will share their experiences of how not only the voices of people are heard, but they're also integrated. Yeah, these will be practical examples. We will also discuss the intricate tension, I shouldn't say tension, the linkage between the expert view and the citizen's voice. And we recognize that both are very important. We will also discuss the challenges and the opportunities our unique time raise and create for all of us. So please join me in my very warm welcome to all our speakers. We will start, yes. We will start with Joseph. And I'll tell you something very important about Joseph. Joseph Muserero was born in the year of tiger. We are in China. That's a very important part of our profile. Our Joseph Muserero, he is an information scientist in the Directorate of Monitoring, Evaluation, and Inspection in the Office of the Prime Minister of Uganda. He has 17 years of experience in local and central government performance assessment. Specifically, he is the officer who is responsible for the middle-level management and coordination of some of the government M&E tools. And he will be speaking to us about his tool today. So the structure of the session, we will go one by one. We'll have 5 wonderful, informative sessions. Then I'll ask them a few questions. I'll try to be very challenging, yeah? I'll also include one question from the WUVA. Thank you very much. I'm voting for that question. We all are voting. And then we open up the floor. Hopefully we have time. So I'm asking everybody to be concise, brief, and sharp, and inclusive. Thank you very much, Joseph. Please, over to you.
Thank you, Madam. Without much ado, I will just go direct to the presentation so that I can utilize the precious time that has been given to me. The government of Uganda, in the pre-colonial times, was actually having engagements that included everybody. I remember when I was young, at the end of the year, homesteads used to do some sort of an evaluation where the head of the home in December, that's the 12th month, could sit on a big chair on what we call a veranda and allow all his children, male and female, and his wives, because homes used to be polygamous homes, and then start getting presentations from each, how they have fared in terms of performance for the 12 months. And I think that was an evaluation moment, and which was always conducted at a veranda. And baradha is a Swahili word for a veranda. So when Uganda thought of improving services by including everybody, they thought of that term, baraza, which means veranda. Government thought that at a particular moment, either after a quarter of implementation of programs, let there be a father who should sit at a veranda, and then we should have a veranda meeting or a baraza meeting. Why did government bring about this baraza? Uganda around 1997 had brought in the decentralization policy. But despite the implementation of the policy, there were many gaps that were prevailing in service delivery. And that's why the tool baraza was brought in a way of looking for how these gaps can be overcome. So that was some bit of my background about the baraza, and the approach of the Uganda baraza does not differ from the World Bank approach. Our main aim is to shorten the route. Why should the beneficiaries wait for when the strategic policymakers shall ever visit them, and that's when they will pledge their concerns? No, we say we can shorten this route, and the citizens collaborate with the implementers, with their local leaders, the technical and the political, and things are sorted. When the technical and the political leaders sit to plan for the financial year activities, let the beneficiaries also be brought at the planning table so that the planning can really include the priorities of the citizens. So the purpose of the baraza, Uganda's baraza, is basically to enhance good governance through creation of an avenue that helps citizens task public leaders for accountability. Baraza is conducted under 5 objectives. First one, to strengthen citizens' rights to good services, gender responsiveness, the rule of law, as it is in the Constitution of Uganda. And then to empower the beneficiaries through the otherwise inaccessible public information. Uganda now has the Access to Information Act of 2005. So we implement the baraza confident that this act is being fulfilled. 3, to enhance government's responsiveness to citizens' development concerns. Okay, I will not go through the details of that result chain of our baraza logical model. Otherwise, we've been doing follow-up. After implementing barazas for a full year, we then do follow-up to ascertain the level of progress of the implementation of the actions. And so far, the recent follow-up indicated that 18% of 800, that's for the last financial year, 876 issues that were raised already has been acted on. 51% is work in progress. 1% were prioritized, started on, but later got stalled because of various reasons, and 30% received no action. The implication here is that 70% of the issues that citizens give to government during a baraza are always prioritized. And some of the achievements so far, there is quick responsiveness to citizens' development concern. We have had some gradual reduction in Uganda's corruption perception index worldwide. We used to be around 155, now we are 141. There are remarkable ownership of public programs by the beneficiaries. Parliament is also now embracing the tool to carry out their oversight role. Now, we had an impact evaluation of this program sponsored by the International Initiative for Impact Evaluation, 3IE. And there are several key messages, but I just picked only 3. Whereby one, that the program has enhanced the decentralization policy through an empowered citizen, and also contributing to the finishing and or resumption of local projects and programs that maybe were stranded somehow. And at least, but rather they are defining how government should really should carry on activities. And then there are challenges, of course, with the program, like any other program. Of course, there is high implementation cost because people really yearn to come to the Baradha. A Baradha can even be attended by 1,000 people in a sub-county. And progress of implementation is at 70%, but would wish that some of the concerns are implemented up to around 95%. The media and civil society are not yet really so much involved, and of course the political sentiments. The lessons, we say that the tool is popular and effective in empowering citizens. Okay. I could say that that's, ordinarily that's what happens when we go for Baradha. We sometimes meet when challenges in a sub-county are like the first picture. For example, this was a recent Baradha where we went, and the first picture shows how the road network was, and the next picture shows when the issue is being discussed at the Baradha, and then 2 weeks later, after the Baradha, implementers take course, and we see the output at the last picture. Okay, and that's what I could talk about the Baradha tool. Thank you.
Joseph, thank you. That is incredible example. I mean, to be the first, I mean, all the congratulations. It's very incredible, especially when you read quick response to citizens' demands. That's powerful now, and also learn from the lessons. I mean, it's very rare. Joseph, thank you very much. Our next presenter and speaker is Miss Melvi Kekana. Melvi was born in the year of Rooster. She is a seasoned monitoring specialist, appointed as a deputy director at the executive monitoring at the department responsible for planning, monitoring, and evaluation in South Africa. She has vast experience in monitoring, program planning, and coordination. With her work, she has supported the ministries in her department and the presidency, and the work undertaken has influenced policy shifts and positively impacted citizens' experience on government services and programs, while also amplifying citizens' voice and experience. Please warmly welcome Melvi. Thank you very much. The floor is yours. Thank you. 10 minutes.
Good day, everyone. Very excited to be here and to be sharing the South African citizen voice enhancement strategies, especially in the frontline space. I have been given permission to sit down, so it is not out of disrespect, so I'm going to present sitting down, please. I'll be looking at the frontline service delivery monitoring as a citizen-centric evaluation approach in the context of South Africa. Why is it not moving? Okay. So I'm from the Department of Planning, Monitoring, and Evaluation. So the department is mainly entrusted with the responsibility to do oversight in terms of government planning, monitoring, and evaluation, in terms of programs and systems that are there. This means that we need to ensure that planning is aligned to the priorities and that we generate accurate, timely, and reliable reports. So in terms of the Frontline Service Delivery Monitoring Program that is within the DPME, is that we evaluate the performance of government programs at a coalface of service delivery, meaning directly with citizens. So we complement all the other programs and government-wide evaluation systems that are there by really getting the citizen experience on the ground. So it is an on-site monitoring approach or evaluation system that collects real-time data from the citizens. It assesses the level of satisfaction in terms of implemented government programs. So it is credible evidence because it comes straight from the people's voices, and it also drives local-based solutions that are very practical to the needs of the citizens. The methods of data collection, we normally have tools that are developed in line with the sector that we are monitoring or evaluating, as well as taking into account the norms and standards for that particular sector. And the way we do it, the implementation approach is that we have direct engagement with the management. So it can be a project site, it can be a facility, a government service point. So you have direct engagement with the facility management or with the project manager to try and get the challenges that they are facing in terms of implementation of services. And then we have the beneficiary engagement that looks at the citizen, the person who should be benefiting directly through a tool as well, and then we have our own observation. So we triangulate the information. And some of the systems or the methodologies that we use as well, just to highlight that we do have focus group sessions. So in terms of, for an example, your rural spaces where you have your traditional leadership, you do facilitate a focus group engagement to try and draw their experiences and to evaluate the impact of the programs that are implemented. We have a presidential hotline where people actually call in to give feedback in terms of the services that they receive as well. And then we have executive monitoring similar to our to Uganda Baraza, but we call it an imbizo, where now the executives, in terms of the president and the cabinet ministers, go down onto the ground and engage the citizens directly. And that is part of the program that I'm supporting. Just to look at the business process in terms of the logical framework, to implement, we look at the government priorities. So we normally wait for the State of the Nation address, where the president will state the priorities for that particular financial year. We reflect on that to make sure that we align our monitoring and our evaluation to the priorities, but also to shape future programs, government programs, in terms of the results that we do get. Also partnering with our provinces, because we understand that each area has its own diverse needs in the country, so we align to that as well. And then we go down, from there we craft a plan, then we go down onto the ground and we start doing our engagements, our evaluation processes or our monitoring processes to get direct and real-time experience of government programs. From there we craft our reports that we communicate feedback to the citizens to say, in terms of the different engagements, different interactions with different types of groups, and direct individual engagements, this is what's coming out in your area. Then we engage the sector. So the sector at times is engaged at the level of planning as well, so that we bring them on board in terms of the programs that we will be looking at. And then we craft an improvement plan with the sector. So we basically reach consensus to say, these are the findings and these are the improvement areas that you need to implement. Then we monitor from there. And then we escalate, so we categorize into local-based solutions that are really fast to implement, and then we look at the provincial level and then at the national, at a cabinet level to say, these are policy changes that are required to make the programs more effective. In terms of the benefits, some of the benefits that the Frontline Service Delivery Monitoring Program brings is that it brings real-time data, so it's not desktop. it is directly, you go onto the ground to get this information. So it enhances service delivery in terms of government performance, because it's unfiltered status of how things are on the ground. You can actually use it to determine the level of impact, how your programs are changing the lives of citizens. You can customize it to be unique in terms of space where you go to as well. Again, it promotes transparency and accountability, because as government, as you go down to the citizens, you show that you are actually a government that cares, that wants to hear, that wants to make impact to its citizens. It affords for immediate program adjustments. I remember during COVID, when we went onto the ground to engage, there were issues, there were challenges because of the steering committee, the linkages. We could immediately change some of the implementation and rollout of the vaccines. So it is aligned to the National Development Plan of the country in terms of the objectives, where it says that all South Africans, basically all voices matter. So it doesn't matter if it's a rural space or an urban space, but everyone needs to participate in terms of shaping government. Some of the milestones of the frontline service delivery monitoring is that, and some of these programs have really been implemented with the president, with the deputy president, and the ministers. In terms of citizens, when we look at frontline, we're not looking at people that receive government services directly. The first example there, I'm just going to run maybe through two. We look at the economic recovery projects. After COVID, priority was around economic recovery in the country. So we went, and the president stated that we should be prioritizing our economic hubs in terms of our industrial parks and special economic zones. So we looked at the tenants that are operating from there to check what sort of impact has COVID had on them, and how can government actually improve and bring on board, support in terms of, improving investment and the environment. So creating an enabling environment. I spoke to an example of the vaccine administration, where immediately, instantly, when we were still on the ground, they were able to say you no longer need an SMS to direct you where to go for your vaccine, because we could see the challenges that are there because of transport costs and all the other challenges, delays in the SMS when people are eager to go. So they were able to quickly turn that decision around because of the frontline service delivery monitoring. Disaster management, we have been targeted by a lot of flood disasters. We have just done a rapid assessment of the early warning system to say, what is it that is not working? Why do we still have fatalities? Why are people not responding in terms of the early warning systems? So that is just a highlight of some of the things that we have been able to look at. So this is the last slide. In conclusion, to state that citizen-based frontline service delivery monitoring is a citizen-based evaluation mechanisms, because it allows government to be evaluated by the end user, by the people which the program is intended for. But it also strengthens platforms, in terms of increased public participation for people to really be involved and to start practicing that active citizenry as well. So I think my time is up. I would like to thank everyone, and I'll be looking forward to the questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Melvi. We are only hearing the glimpse, right? But I'm sure you will be grabbing our speakers during the coffee breaks and asking them to tell us more. Very incredible. And your speech came from your heart. No, we actually felt all your passion. And you must have contributed a lot to the strengthening, improving the trust of citizens in institutions and the service delivery. It's incredible. So our next honorable speaker is Dr. Otmane Gair. He was born in the year of tiger, not a tiger. He is the president of the National Observatory for Human Development in Morocco. He is the member of the Economic, Social, and Environmental Council in Morocco. He holds a PhD in economics And Dr. Gair was the Director of Youth, Childhood and Women's Affairs at the Ministry of Youth, Culture and Communication. Please join me in warm welcoming Dr. Gair. The floor is yours. 10 minutes. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you for having me. Je vais faire cette présentation en français. Donc, je suis très ravi de prendre part aux travaux de la conférence des capacités d'évaluation ici à Pékin. Et je remercie à cette occasion le Programme des Nations Unies pour le développement et le Bureau indépendant d'évaluation pour leur invitation. Alors, mon intervention va porter essentiellement sur l'expérience marocaine de façon globale et aussi en particulier sur un projet que nous avons mené au sein de l'Observatoire national du développement humain en matière d'évaluation des politiques publiques et de prise en considération du souci de l'inclusion du citoyen et de sa voix dans la définition des politiques publiques et l'évaluation de ces mêmes politiques. Alors, la problématique principale que je vais essayer d'aborder consiste à se poser la question suivante. Comment l'inclusion du citoyen en tant qu'usager des services publics peut-elle contribuer à renforcer l'adéquation entre les réformes gouvernementales et la réalité sociale? Généralement, dans les pays en voie de développement, pays du Sud en général, c'est un souci très important dans la mesure où généralement les politiques publiques sont définies au niveau central. Et donc, ils tiennent compte bien évidemment des agrégats sociaux et économiques, mais rarement qu'ils tiennent compte de la voix des citoyens et des besoins réels de la population. D'où la question de l'inclusion du citoyen, non pas a posteriori, mais principalement au moment de la définition des politiques publiques et aussi au moment de leur mise en œuvre, sachant que de par l'expérience d'un certain nombre de pays, nous avons perdu beaucoup de temps à évaluer les politiques publiques a posteriori, sans tenir compte, bien évidemment, de l'évolution des attentes de la population cible de ces politiques publiques. Deux points importants à propos du contexte national marocain. Le Maroc aujourd'hui mène un certain nombre de politiques sociales qui sont appelées à s'employer sur une double entrée dans un contexte assez particulier. Il s'agit premièrement de garantir un niveau de soutien minimal aux citoyens en situation de besoin, d'où le programme de l'État social qui consiste à généraliser l'accès à l'assurance maladie obligatoire, à la généralisation aussi des allocations familiales, la généralisation de la retraite et l'introduction de l'indemnité pour perte d'emploi. Et vous constatez que ce bouclier social nécessite la mise en place de mécanismes d'observation et d'évaluation continue de ces principales dimensions pour assurer sa pérennité et aussi s'assurer qu'il va répondre aux besoins réels de la population. Le deuxième point important au niveau du contexte national, c'est la mise en place d'un plan de performance axé sur les résultats en veillant sur une qualité de l'action publique basée sur l'adéquation entre les réformes gouvernementales, la réalité sociale et l'ancrage d'évaluation dans le contexte. Et c'est à ce niveau-là que nous avons mené une expérience empirique durant l'année 2024 et qui a porté sur la réforme éducative que mène aujourd'hui le ministère de l'Éducation au Maroc. Cette réforme était un peu problématique dans le sens où il a provoqué une crise sociale au niveau national entre le ministère et les syndicats des enseignants, ce qui a perturbé le déroulement des cours pendant plus de 4 mois. Et c'est à ce moment-là que le ministère de l'Éducation nationale a saisi l'Observatoire national pour le développement humain pour la réalisation d'une enquête de perception auprès des acteurs de l'école publique marocaine concernant cette réforme. Et donc, l'idée était de mesurer le niveau d'adhésion des différents acteurs de l'école publique, que ce soit les élèves, les parents d'élèves, les enseignants ou encore les directeurs d'école. Et nous avons procédé à la réalisation d'un certain nombre de focus group dans plusieurs régions du Royaume pour essayer de comprendre quels sont les facteurs d'adhésion ou encore les facteurs de résistance auprès de la population cible. Et donc, il fallait justement écouter la voix des différentes parties prenantes pour qu'on puisse élaborer les propositions et les observations et les remarques de cette population cible et l'adresser aux décideurs publics. Permettez-moi de vous dire qu'au terme de cette enquête de perception, nous avons constaté finalement qu'il y a un gap entre le décideur et la population cible de la réforme. Nous avons d'une part constaté que l'administration centrale considérait que, par exemple, le corps professoral présentait des signaux de résistance par rapport à la réforme. Nous avions constaté aussi que le décideur au niveau central considérait que la généralisation de la réforme éducative poserait problème en termes d'adhésion des familles, des élèves ou encore des enseignants, alors que les résultats de nos focus group avec les différentes parties prenantes nous ont permis finalement de constater le contraire. Nous avons constaté que les différentes parties prenantes sur le terrain présentaient des signaux plutôt positifs d'adhésion à ce projet et d'implication de ce projet. Encore plus, nous avons constaté que pour les professeurs qui font partie des écoles objets de la réforme, étaient des agents porteurs de cette réforme. Ils faisaient encore plus du plaidoyer à l'égard de leurs homologues ou à l'égard de leurs collègues qui travaillent dans les écoles qui ne sont pas encore concernés par ce projet de réforme. Et juste pour conclure, l'idée finale est de dire que de par la complexité importante de la mise en œuvre des différentes politiques publiques, notamment dans le domaine social aujourd'hui, il y a une nécessité aussi d'impliquer les différentes parties prenantes au moment de la définition de la politique publique, lors de sa réalisation et bien évidemment a posteriori, parce que les générations actuelles et futures ne supporteront pas un gâchis en termes de temps de développement, parce qu'il va leur coûter très cher. Merci pour votre attention.
Dr. Gair, merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. That was a very specific example of the education sector. Yeah, and a lot of attention paid to the context, right? How the reforms are unfolding and how the different factors are affecting. Thank you very much. So we have another speaker, Miss Erdenechimeg Ulziisuren. She was born in the year of cow. She is a founder and president of the Mongolian Evaluation Association, as well as the CEO and founder of Cognos International Company, or firm. This firm is specialized in the field of social economy, market, agriculture, environment, and health in Mongolia. Ms. Chimgi has worked with a lot of organizations, and she had a lot of privilege of working with them. She is a graduate of the LSC, and she is a member of the Professionalization of Evaluation Task Force of International Organization for Cooperation in Evaluation, and she is also a member of the Professionalization of Evaluation and VNR SDG themes of Asia Pacific Evaluation Association. So thank you very much for your time and being with us, and we really warmly welcome you. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Well, very good afternoon, everyone, and thanks very much for joining our session today. It looks like everyone has different preference of presenting. For me, it's better to stand for better rhythm of my speaking. So before I start my presentation, I would like to ask who knows this abbreviation of VOPE? Please raise your hand if you know the word, abbreviation of VOPE. So very few people, so this is good. VOPE stands for Voluntary Organization for Professional Evaluation, and I think I'm only the one among our distinguished government speakers representing the civic and professional association. So I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for IEO, of UNDP and GI for inviting me. So my presentation is VOPE, Bridging as a Knowledge Broker to Advance National Evaluation Capacity and System. So before I go into how Mongolia is ensuring the civic and professional participation in the evaluation field, I would like to give a brief overview of the landscape of Mongolia's national evaluation system. So there is this reference, CVAD Evaluation Globe, which states national evaluation system is composed of three systems. The first is political, then social system, then professional system. So all three of these components comprise the national system, evaluation system in any country. So if I, from the external observer perspective, if I look at each of the system, I would say the political system in Mongolia is, we have some elements of this. For example, we have the structure and legal environment, and however, the main bottleneck for our country is government and parliament. They look at monitoring and evaluation as a more compliance, monitoring, inspection, auditing from those perspectives. I think that's has to do with some of our socialist background. We were a former socialist country for 70 years, so that's quite very strong in the monitoring side. And this July we had the parliament election, and now we have minister in evaluation and monitoring, which is a quite good stride. And also we have a government body specialized in monitoring and evaluation of national policies and implementation of organizations. And we have parliament, 16 ministries, and 21 local government. Each has a mini department. Also, we have law and development policy and planning and its management. Also, resolution number 206, which is really specialized in monitoring and evaluation of policy documents. However, there is quite a lack of understanding among our public servants what's really the correct understanding of evaluation, mixing with monitoring. And there's a political will is also questionable. But I see there's a trend and momentum going on. So that's it at the political system. When we look at the social system, which is more at the civic part, there is a general very lack of understanding about what's evaluation among our citizens. So that's very red flag there. The last one is professional system. So this CVAD Globe report says if your country has a formal or informal degree on evaluation, if you have professional associations in evaluation, or you have standards or ethics, a code of ethics in your country, you have some good professional system in evaluation. So I would say the last system in Mongolia is quite progressing since the establishment of the Mongolian Evaluation Association 3 years ago. So we are working on developing code of ethics, evaluators competency framework, and also we are trying our best to provide some tailored short-term workshops, summer evaluation bootcamp, learning session, etc. So that's our landscape in the broader picture. Now, very quickly, what the Mongolian Evaluation Association, who we are. So we are established 3 years ago with the vision to promote professionalization and institutionalization of evaluation at national level. We have over 200 members. And if you look at the graphs, almost majority of them do not have experience, or they're young and emerging evaluators. So there is a very high trend in people interested in learning about evaluation, and they would like to make it either their career or they would like to learn about to maybe hold government accountable. So at our association level, we've been working at both civic and public level and at the national level. So we do monthly learning sessions, internship for the young and emerging evaluators, summer evaluation bootcamp, evaluation case competition, translating key documents like OECD, DAC criteria, glossary, and IPTET curriculum, APIAS, M&E course curriculum, etc. So we are doing, trying our best with our voluntary work to promote all these platforms for our members and broader public levels. When it comes to national level, which means at the government level, we are quite also proactive to try to meet, go to the parliament, go to the government in charge of different evaluation monitoring charts, that if there is a need, we are there to help you, maybe being in the task force or helping to revise the resolution, etc. So we have this quite proactive approach. So this is really the most significant slide of me in terms of the title of this stream. So I see at this moment, Mongolia is having this momentum for opening this space for civic and professional participation to strengthen national evaluation system, because the resolution number 206, which is a key document in Mongolia, it's being revised, and then they are separating monitoring and evaluation. So there are two separate resolutions ongoing, and the association has also taken some part to provide what are the good international practices and what's the importance of having these two separately, but for the same bigger purpose. And in that amended resolution, it says, it proposes to promulgate to include professional organizations and researchers in policy evaluation task force. Also, it's proposing to procure external evaluation teams to carry out the evaluation and make the evaluation report publicly. So these three key new articles are very important for our country, because it's quite revolutionary, I would say, giving us really a platform to engage citizens and professional association. And then open government partnership, this is a global report, and Mongolia has submitted its 5th action plan. And commitment 9.1 says, government should create participation of CSO, NGOs, private sector organizations, and citizens in the performance management evaluation, monitoring of government institutions, and policy monitoring evaluation. So government now really acknowledges that there is a need for giving more space to civic and professional organizations to evaluate their policy. And lastly, Mongolian Evaluation Association, how can we see ourselves as a bridge or tool for our government to, to implement all these things. So for example, with the already 3 years of groundwork, we hope to continue our strides to contributing and sensitizing country-led evaluation in the country, and provide tailored trainings for public CSOs, private sectors, so that people can hold government more accountable, and support in rolling out some master's degree in evaluation, because we have to prepare the next generation of professional evaluators to really evaluate the policies and programs of the government, and foster evaluative thinking and evaluation culture among public through trainings, media contents, and opinionated theories and articles. I think that's it. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. I hope this momentum for Mongolia will work out really well for the national evaluation system and capacity building. And your context resonates quite well with the country where I am from. We also share the same socialist background, and I am from Kyrgyzstan, so it's actually very familiar. Now we have the last presentation. We will hear from Miss Yang Dongwan. She was born in the year of cow. She's an assistant researcher at the Chinese Academy of International Trade and Economic Cooperation, or CAITEC, MOFCOM for short. CAITEC is the only professional think tank in China affiliated with Chinese Ministry of Commerce. Ms. Yang Dongwan has assisted MOFCOM and SIDCA in conducting project evaluations and comprehensive evaluations of foreign aid. So very warm welcome, and thank you very much.
Thank you for the introduction. I'm really honored to be here to share my opinion. Today, I'd like to start from the evaluation of China's foreign aid projects and talk about citizen inclusion in this process. I have to sit down, sorry. Okay, firstly, I want to take a quick look back on the history of China's evaluation system for foreign aid projects. The evaluation of China's foreign aid has gone through a grateful development process in which public voice have gradually been given more attention. Since the early 21st century, part of the project has conducted evaluation exploration. From 2012, drawing on international experience, China Aid established relatively standardized evaluation indicators. Since 2018, after the establishment of CIDICOM, considering different areas and methods of aid, a more specific evaluation system is constructed and enhance the scientific, effective, and systematic nature of the evaluation. As we can see, as we can see in the PPT, China have come up with several rules and laws on this area and published 2 reports on evaluation, especially, as we said this morning. Next, let's see some examples. As we know that China has a lot of experience in poverty reduction and has applied this experience to international poverty reduction assistance. And these projects mobilize the resources and funds of aid authorities, agriculture and poverty alleviation authorities in China, as well as local poverty alleviation organizations, and establish joint management mechanisms with the recipient countries' local institutions. And for the evaluation of such projects, the relevant projects follow a complete evaluation system, which includes 3 levels of indicators, as we can see on the screen. And it runs through the entire process of project planning, initiation, and implementation, taking into account the project's contributions to the partner countries, China itself, and the Sustainable Development Goals. These are some indicators related to citizen participation. As we can see that it takes into account the rights and the interests of the poor, women, the labor, and the environment, and so on. Actually, the inclusiveness of aid evaluation is a must. And next, I will show some questionnaires we conducted on the recipient countries. The questionnaire on the screen is a school project we conducted in Rwanda. And some of these questions are really well organized, and they take into account of the students and the teachers and the local laborers and so on. Okay, That's something I want to share about the evaluation projects I have been taking part in. And next, there are still some aspects that can be improved. As we see in these projects, the way for the civil society to participate in the evaluation are mainly through questionnaire and interview. So what needs to be promoted is, on the one hand, citizens' participation in evaluation is a passive or inactive process. At most of the time, they only have the opportunity to enter this process if relevant departments conduct research on them. So in addition to disturbing questionnaires, conducting in-depth interviews and on-site research, there should also be more diverse forms, such as setting up online message and communication platforms, conducting big data analysis on local online communities, and so on, to promote citizens' active participation. Of course, this also depends on the improving infrastructure conditions in the local area. On the other hand, the participation of multiple stakeholders in the evaluation process often occurs after the completion of the project or during the feasibility study phase. Actually, the involvement of these groups and organizations in the evaluation process should be emphasized during the project initiation and implementation. And next, we should increase attention to women, children, and the most vulnerable populations in the evaluation. The aid programs actually pays special attention to these people, but their thoughts are still not particularly highlighted enough during the evaluation process. Next, we can still deepen the participation of multiple stakeholders throughout the entire process and strengthen their involvement in evaluation. Whether it's domestic or foreign institutions and individuals, public welfare social organizations or foundations, so that we can expand the channels for information disclosure in order to listen and collect public opinions on the evaluation results. And we should also strengthen the application of evaluation results and establish a systematic feedback mechanism. For example, by linking the application of evaluation results to employees' performance throughout an institutional mechanism. Lastly, we have to strengthen the experience of citizen participation in evaluation. We need to better learn from the practice of traditional aid providers and international organizations, as well as China has a lot of domestic experiences in different departments. We can also take it into the international processes. And thirdly, countries in the global south should learn from each other because they have common experiences which is different from the developed countries, so that the global south countries can unite to speak out more on the inclusiveness of the evaluation process. And that's all I want to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yang. I can't agree more. I mean, yes, we all can learn from each other, and I think China, as we all heard, this plenary, and now China is a very good example. We have heard all of the presentations, and as you know, actually, there are critiques of inclusion. Some people, especially in the past, used to say that complex societal issues or problems are too technical for citizens to engage. Yeah, it's not for them. They don't know, they used to say, yes? But now we have heard, this is the counter-argument, yeah? who else would know better what works or doesn't work than those people who are most impacted by our policies intervention? So these are very strong message about the inclusion. Now, if you allow me, I have just quick questions to our panelists, and then we will open the floor. Yeah? We still have 30 minutes, so we are not doing too bad. I will start with Joseph and Melvi, because they have shared their very specific examples. So I would like to ask you, my friends, in what ways do you believe the complexities of the current political landscape in Uganda and South Africa impact citizens' engagement in M&E, and how can these challenges be transformed into opportunities for deeper dialogue and better inclusion? Thank you.
Thank you, the moderator. For Uganda, the country is under the multi-party dispensation. And therefore, normally, for every political office, numbers matter. And one of the challenges that we are facing as we implement this tool is the various political sentiments. When we are arranging the Baraza program or a meeting, the meeting which is supposed to be totally technical, sometimes it may end when it is a political meeting, when there's a lot of politicking, because it is an all-inclusive meeting. It has everybody, the civil society, the community, the politicians, they all gather here. And you try to imagine if you're holding a Baraza meeting, because Barazas are planned for, are budgeted for every quarter of the financial year in government. Now you are having a Baraza meeting in the period, for example, if it is 3 months to elections, then you know that you may have, maybe in the process, the session may be 30% technical, but 70% political. And if it is not well controlled, there may be exchange of words that are completely meaningless and even baseless. And even witch hunt can occur. So basically the tool is a sensitive tool, very important tool, but it depends on the periods. What is the opportunity out of this? The opportunity out of the political sentiment is that since political offices are empowered by numbers, and with the Baraza also, it's numbers that matter, it's numbers that gather. And normally, the election trend in Uganda is that every sitting president always wins the votes by around 52%. That means around 48% of the rest of the voting college are in the opposition. And both are participants at the Baraza. So that means when issues are raised, whether out of ill motives, whether with good intentions, but at least we have the opportunity that the policymakers, the political leaders, are going to be on tender and end up quickly intervening into the issues because they need to woo these people onto their side. And who benefits? It's the local citizen, the beneficiary of that kind of level of political sentiment. So, then also, there's a lot of biased decision here and there. You'll find a member of parliament will only be interested in presenting the issues that are from the constituency which they represent, and not so much concentrate on other constituencies. So that's basically concerning, that's what I could say is the major challenge on the political side. Thank you.
In terms of South Africa, we have recently just had our elections, where we were electing for the 7th administration, and a very interesting turn of events happened, because after 30 years where we had a majority party, I think the citizens' voice came out very strongly, in a sense that we ended up with a government of national unity, where the citizens were saying all political parties need to come together and work together for the benefit of the citizens. So this required all political parties to look at their manifestos and say, what are the common priorities that are coming out? And 3 of those came out that are being now developed or approved into a medium-term development plan, which prioritizes issues of poverty alleviation, the issue of the cost of living for people in the country, especially your middle class, and also the economy, strengthening the economy. So there is a statement of intent that was then constituted or drafted, and one of the fundamental principles in the statement of intent is to have an accountable government that is transparent, and that is really encouraging community participation or citizen participation. So the voice of the citizen has been elevated because of the outcomes of the elections. The voice of the citizens is now going to form an integral part in building a capable, ethical, and developmental state. So gone are the times where you find elected officials mainly focusing on their manifesto or their party manifesto. Everyone needs to draw together and come together. In terms of the spin-offs or the opportunities that this has presented, Frontline has now become very fashionable, because every politician now or every official is interested, because of the outcomes, in what the citizen thinks and what the citizens want. It could be either or, to restore or to regain the over 50% as a majority party, or to try and keep the status as it is. So each political party is now fighting for space to prove. So this has really benefited the citizens in a way, which we are very appreciative of. And also, we have a district development model, which it wasn't really gaining traction before the GNU, the Government of National Unity, but because of the Government of National Unity, it fosters social compact, meaning that in a district, in a space, you don't just go as government and implement your programs without really going onto the ground, understanding the local dynamics, finding local solutions for each and every space in the country, which we have 52. So we have seen positive spin-offs in that regard. We have seen healthy competition in that regard, and we have started seeing positive improvement in terms of services, in terms of service delivery on the ground. So this is a very new development in the country after 30 years, which we are looking forward to seeing how it actually benefits the citizens and how the citizens are brought on board to be part of government. I think, that's it for South Africa.
Thank you. Dr. Gair, please, may I now approach you and ask you to answer this question. In the context of increasingly complex global challenges, how do you prioritize which voices to amplify, and what criteria do you use to evaluate their significance? Thank you.
Merci. Alors, je pense que pour la question de l'inclusion dans le contexte mondial actuel, elle pose un certain nombre de problématiques, mais aussi d'opportunités. D'abord, dans un contexte comme le nôtre, dans un contexte mondial comme le nôtre, la population est devenue de plus en plus exigeante. On est aussi dans un contexte de comparaison de la qualité des services publics entre les différents pays, voire même entre les différentes régions dans le même pays. Il y a aussi une redevabilité accrue des élus ou des responsables politiques à l'égard de la population. D'où cette question de l'inclusion, et je pense qu'on ne peut pas envisager l'inclusion dans ce contexte de mondialisation sans aborder la question de la satisfaction, tout simplement parce que l'inclusion implique un intéressement important de la part des décideurs ou des responsables politiques à l'égard de la satisfaction, ce qui implique bien évidemment un autre changement en termes du positionnement du citoyen, qui n'est plus un simple acteur dans un processus électoral pour le choix d'une politique publique déterminée qui va s'étaler sur 4, 5 ou 6 années, mais plutôt le citoyen, à travers son acte de vote, ne fait que déclencher un processus de formulation d'une politique publique. Et ce n'est pas la fin. Ce n'est pas la fin de son rôle. En votant, il ne fait que déclencher un processus. Et par voie de conséquence, dans le contexte actuel et dans le cadre de l'approche de l'inclusion, il doit prendre part, il doit participer à la conduite de la politique publique tout au long de son processus de mise en œuvre, avec bien évidemment des dispositifs d'observation et d'évaluation permanents pour pouvoir réorienter, ajuster, corriger ces différentes politiques publiques pour qu'ils puissent répondre aux besoins permanents aussi, en perpétuel changement auprès des citoyens, qui deviennent, dans ce contexte-là, non pas seulement des citoyens, parce que l'appellation, le concept citoyen tient son origine de la science politique, mais il faut aussi lui ajouter le qualificatif usager, avec tout ce que cela implique, comme l'exigence d'une certaine qualité au niveau des services publics. Bien évidemment, on aura parmi nous certains collègues qui diront que le concept de qualité est un concept de marché, donc on poussera les services publics à être comme des marchandises, et pourquoi pas, tant que ces services publics coûtent aussi de l'argent. Il faut l'objet aussi d'une dépense. Et c'est à ce niveau-là que nous avons toujours, en discutant des services publics, tombé dans un certain nombre d'amalgames en disant que l'école publique est le meilleur modèle, ou encore l'hôpital public, et en oubliant que l'école publique ou l'hôpital public coûte aussi de l'argent. L'école publique n'est pas gratuite, l'hôpital public n'est pas gratuit, il coûte de l'argent, et il faut aussi penser à la question de la pertinence de la dépense publique par rapport à la satisfaction ou à l'utilité qu'elle produit à l'égard du citoyen usager. D'où 4 critères de stratification qu'on peut relever ou qu'on relève au sein de l'Observatoire national de développement humain au Maroc en matière d'évaluation de l'importance des voix de citoyens à amplifier. Premièrement, c'est le critère de satisfaction, c'est-à-dire le degré de la satisfaction des bénéficiaires des programmes d'assistance ou d'aide sociale par rapport à la qualité des services qui sont fournis dans le cadre de ces programmes. Mais pas seulement le critère de satisfaction, il y a aussi le critère d'équité sociale. Nous constatons, à travers les différentes observations que nous menons, qu'il y a une contestation de plus en plus accrue des critères d'éligibilité à un certain nombre de programmes. Et comme les budgets consacrés aux différents programmes, notamment les programmes sociaux, ces budgets sont généralement limités, quelle que soit leur importance, cela pose toujours un problème de définition de la catégorie sociale qui sera éligible à tel ou tel programme, d'où la nécessité de prendre en considération l'exigence de l'égalité des chances et la transparence dans la définition des critères d'éligibilité, parce que en définissant mal les critères d'éligibilité, nous allons susciter chez la population bénéficiaire ou non bénéficiaire un certain nombre d'interrogations et éventuellement de la contestation de la qualité de ce service ou encore des critères d'éligibilité. Troisième critère, c'est le critère de l'efficacité sociale et économique. Finalement, l'objectif de chaque politique publique est d'assurer un optimum sociétal. Si on arrive à réaliser une utilité sociale avec des budgets énormes, ce n'est pas toujours concevable ou envisageable. Comme lorsqu'on réduit les budgets et qu'on n'arrive pas à atteindre l'utilité sociale, c'est aussi problématique. Et donc, il faut essayer de trouver un juste milieu entre le coût économique de l'action publique, mais aussi l'utilité sociale attendue de cette action. Et finalement, et comme c'est le cas partout dans le monde, vu que c'est les politiques, c'est les gouvernements qui mènent les politiques publiques, il y a aussi un critère d'utilité politique des voix des personnes à cibler dans n'importe quel programme ou politique publique. Il y a bien évidemment dans ce cadre-là un choix politique du décideur vis-à-vis de son électorat, vis-à-vis de la catégorie sociale ou la population dont il a la priorité dans son programme gouvernemental ou politique. Merci pour votre attention.
Thank you. Now we have the last question from Wuva. Thank you very much for the one who gave us this question. And I would like to turn to Chimgi and Young. From your perspectives, do you think inclusion needs an enabling law or a framework for deeper and better inclusion and implementation? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. As I presented in my presentation, so there is now a legal framework for the civic participation, professional associations really to get on the policy evaluation work at the government. Not yet approved, but we look forward to that. However, on our side, we have to prepare ourselves as evaluators that we have to be competent to do this evaluation, policy evaluation. At the same time, one of the very important roles we see at the association is to raise the public awareness about evaluation. Evaluation should be used, but for that, demand should be there. When demand of evaluation is created is when citizens demand for what's the effectiveness, what's the sustainability of this policy your government implemented. So unless there is a demand from the civic society or the people, there is not going to be a very meaningful, I think, policy implementation. So I think a month ago, Prime Minister's advisor met some of our board members asking, can you guys do some good media content or some kind of very simple content that help people to understand what evaluation means? Because in Mongolia, evaluation is translated into very different meanings, not necessarily evaluation that we understand at the consensus level. So beginning from what evaluation means and what's the platform or the possibilities citizens can engage with the policy implementation, there is this opportunity. So just this kind of big undertaking we have in the front. So really raising awareness of people about evaluation and empowering the national evaluators to become competent evaluators is the key. So with, like, for example, we translated the OECD DAC criteria. One of the criteria is relevance. Before, when we evaluate anything, relevance was only understood that is this intervention relevant to your national big policy? So that's it. But now this is going further. Like, is your intervention relevant to the needs of these local people? Is it relevant to this time of the year, right? So that relevance is really now going further to really understand the needs of people. So thanks very much.
Thank you. And from my perspective, and in the area of foreign aid, both China and the international have experienced the process of more and more scientific and comprehensive evaluation mechanism. So I think it's very important to some kind of law and frameworks or rules. As China, from the year 2012, it established some relevant rules and laws and special institutions. And but this question is also a little bit controversial in the areas that because people's opinion and their needs can be flexible and changing. And if we set too strict rules on these questions, it might be somehow not very adaptable. So I think this kind of mechanism is important, but what is more important is that we should deal it more flexible, and we should stand from the issue itself, because different area and different questions might have different standards. And that's all.
Thank you very much. That's it from our side. I'm not going to summarize for the sake of time. I open the floor. We have 5-6 minutes. Reactions, questions. Yes, Ada. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, too many mics. Okay, thank you very much for this session and for the presenters. I think this is a very relevant topic to discuss with. I have a comment and a question. My comment is that normally the focus when it comes to inclusion and participation, it is, we say throughout, but actually what happens in reality is that we seek participation during the data collection and sometimes in analysis. And that's a limited participation. I think we should encourage countries and stakeholders to go beyond that and actually have an institutionalization of participation throughout the cycle. And for that, we need reference groups, advisory groups, etc., that will systematically participate throughout the process and influence the recommendations and even the use. So I think that's an important point, because we have to recognize that the focus in practical terms is mainly in data collection and analysis. And the question I would like to ask to whoever would like to intervene from the panelists is to what extent human rights is behind these processes of inclusion and participation. And when it comes to human rights, I would like probably an emphasis on collective human rights rather than individual, because normally we say, well, education has a great coverage, health is increasing the coverage, but I think nowadays in our countries there is a trend towards collective rights. For example, the right to congregate, the right to elevate the voice, to have a collective opinion, the right to protest. And those are collective rights that actually have a direct effect in evaluations that are meant to be participatory and are meant to be inclusive. So that's the question I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody?
Thank you, Madam. Thank you for that good question. Just take one minute. ask a few things, and then my colleagues will come on board also. From the Uganda perspective, as a country, our constitution, actually chapter number 1 of the constitution, said that all the power belong to the citizens of Uganda. And it's under that mandate that all these strategic policymakers, right from parliament, actually the ministers, the cabinet, parliament, the prime minister herself, all come down to the lower local government and sit down and listen to what the community is passing across regarding whether they are satisfied or dissatisfied with the services that they have received. So that one, in a way, reflects the power reflected in chapter 1 of the Constitution of Uganda. Then, as I quoted before in my presentation, that Uganda still has the Access to Information Act of 2005. So this act is also enforced during our gathering, where everybody is allowed to access information. Information on funding, finances, should be made accessible to the community. And in addition to this, every quarter, the disbursements from the Ministry of Finance to the local governments, sub-counties, they are reflected in the newspapers so that each sub-county chief knows this is the amount of money that has been sent to me. And not only the sub-county chief, but even the members of the community buy newspapers and know that our sub-county has received 30 million Uganda shillings. So I see that this tool is driven by human rights to some level and some extent. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 3 more questions, but we have to make a collective decision. Are we staying 5 minutes longer? Thank you. Okay, we have there, here, and here. We collect all 3, and then, yeah, please, thank you.
Thank you very much. Just quickly introduce myself. My name is Mele. I'm from the Kingdom of Tonga in the Pacific region. I am the National Secretary for the Tongan Workers' Council and also the General Secretary for the Pacific Islands Council. Thank you very much, and I commend the presenters, the 4 from the government, and may I acknowledge and congratulate Mongolia for the evaluation association that you've set up. My comment would be, I have worked in government for 15 years before I joined the trade union for 20 years. If my government is going to be here to make a presentation, it would be just very similar to the presentations that you've made from the 4 governments. And unfortunately, Tonga is not a donor, so we won't be able to make a presentation like the good presentation that has been made by the Chinese government. But what I'm asking here, and this is from the experience that we have. Most of the consultation, remember I was in the machinery for 15 years. There is no such evaluation per se, but more of a consultation with the people. And when a consultation is being carried out, it's very political. The government would be choosy of which civil society to invite to be consulted. We are of the view that an evaluation should be independent of government. Government makes policy. They implement policy. Somebody else has to evaluate our performance in government. As a trade unionist, we look at the rate of unemployment. in the developing countries, in the worldwide, there is high unemployment of our young people. Economic development is going down. It's declining. In the Pacific Islands and most of the developing countries in the world are the most people who are sick. We are highest in the Pacific of the rates of NCDs, non-communicable diseases. So what do we ask our government? Do we have the right policies? We always develop private sector as an engine for growth. But the economic development in Tonga and most of the Pacific Islands and most of the developing countries, whether you are big or small, is less than 2% of the GDP growth every year. So what are we looking at here? Policymakers. I'm asking you in government, what can we do? How can we improve the world? How can we improve our health? How can we give jobs to our people, our young people? Tonga is only 110,000 people. Africa, there's millions of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We all are staying, right? I don't want to impose. We said we are staying, but I mean, if we could be very brief, yes?
Very brief. Samuel from Ghana. My question is, thumbs up for voices. Congratulations for the presentation. How do we ensure that they are representative, they are accurate, and how do the voices reconcile with official statistics? Thank you.
Thank you very much to the presenter. I'll be very brief. I was just interested in building capacity for meaningful participation of citizens. Because for me, where citizens might not evaluate the way we do, like as professionals, but for me, for them to begin to protest is sufficient evaluation to say government is not doing anything, so this is how we react. So I was just quite interested in, because they might not initiate an evaluation and follow the DAC criteria, you know, all those things, but they have their own way of saying, this government is literally playing with us, and this is how we react. Thanks.
Thank you. Who is answering these big questions? Especially the first one, how are we improving the world? Through inclusion.
Thank you, Madam. Now, in Uganda, we, as the Office of the Prime Minister, which is mandated to do that participatory evaluation, monitoring evaluation, we work together with the civil society organization to empower the community, the local communities, through sensitization. Then within the community, we have what the people we call resource persons or the significant others. We go with representatives from the sectors. Sectors means health, education, agriculture, water, and environment, blah, 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 blah. Those are sector representative experts. And then we take some time to associate with the resource persons. Resource persons are members of the community who are knowledgeable. Some of these are retired public officers, religious leaders, sheikhs, reverends, and so on. And then they are given some basic, just somebody's taught how you can examine and know that this indicator was achieved. Basic indicators like the length of how wide was this Maram Road supposed to be. If it was supposed to be 7 meters wide, and now it is 5 meters, then we teach them the indicator was not achieved. Basic indicators on health measures and other things. So that one is done at that level, as she's saying. Just basic capacity building on basic M&E. And then it can be reinforced by the authorities from the central government, responsible technical officers during the Barada section. Thank you.
Thanks. Just to add on the question around how do we improve the world? And I think in South Africa, we have come to a realization that it can never or no longer be government against private sector. Everyone needs to hold hands and work together. And that is why I mentioned also in the presentation that there is a district development model that brings in the integration at government level in terms of implementation, in terms of monitoring, in terms of evaluation, in terms of what is priority for this district, for this community. And everyone has a role to play. Government cannot do it alone. If you look at issues of unemployment, for an example, you have to create an enabling environment for private sector to thrive so that in the space there can be employment. So I think it's not just looked at in terms of government, but in terms of bringing that coherence in terms of plans and growth in a particular space. Thank you.
On your point, very quickly, so we see our role as an association for the government is being the critical friend, not necessarily educating many people that they would criticize the government, no. But we believe the more educated the citizens are, the more evidence-based, then they can be the critical friend of the government. Like you said, we need to hold each other's hand to improve the lives of people.
Anybody else? No? Should we leave it there? Yes? Thank you very much. Sorry that we have to miss. But next time, at the next NEC, we'll talk hopefully again about inclusion, and there will be even more exemplary examples. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your participation. Woo. Thank you.